Hello everybody. So in my last video, I alluded to having made a national pickup despite the fact that I wasn't at the national. And I'm going to get into that in a second. There might be some cards that, because how seldomly they come up on eBay, I may never get if I lose my velocity significantly, which has been my biggest asset. Was the time I spent scouring eBay for good cards. That led me to think that one of my friends who had said that he had blown his card budget on a certain Babe Ruth card leading up to the National and was just going to the National to hang out, that this could be a win-win. He gets to look for a card, I get to get a card. He happened to do really good at the National himself. I'm gonna cue a video that he had last week or so describing this pickup from his point of view. Run the tape.
My final purchase at the show, this was not actually a card for me. This was a case where, as I stated, I was commissioned by a friend of mine who spoke on it, and he's fine with me sharing. It's Doug over at DK Cardboard, commissioned me to pick up a card that, once he showed me the photo of that card, I was like, yeah, that is a Doug card. He loves the unique poses and looks. He's also very fond of a red background card.
He has very specific tastes.
And this one fills the bill nicely on both fronts. And as it turned out, when I'm buying a card for someone else, to me it feels so much more pressure than buying a card for myself. I enjoyed the hunt, but I did not want to get something that he was not going to like. So
don't screw this one up, man.
I kind of felt like I had to adopt the Adam Vintage Sanctuary mindset to this approach. And as such, I scanned the entire facility for this card before I was willing to plop down money for it. Fortunately, this is not a player that transacts at any kind of high volume. It turns out the exact card has 75 graded copies, which was also an information I wanted to pull, and have at hand. I wanted to know exactly what it's been transacting at in the few transaction it has. And, I had a budgetary range to work with that he gave me that, when comparing it to the sales, was going to work quite nicely.
Today, the key is preparation.
And after examining the entire facility, I found 4 copies of that card in the building out of the 75 graded copies in existence. And I went then back to the table that had the prettiest one to see what the best deal I could work for him was on the card that looked the best. And so let's take a look at this very Doug card. Let's turn things around. And now for that card I picked up for Doug. Let's start out with the back of the card. As you can see, this baby has authentic caramel staining. And we all know what that does for the value. To the moon, baby. And some of you may have an idea of what set this is from the back. And sorry to tease you, but I'm going to leave it at that. I am going to let Doug show this gorgeous card on his own channel and leave you wanting more here with just the back of the card.
You're an asshole.
All right, so now let's look at the card. Okay, so here's his note. Doug, it felt good to find you this great card. Would have been way better to see you. Your friend, John. Well, that is awesome, John. I would have loved to have been there with you guys. And before I show the card, there we go. The man. And I have a 4 collector's card. This sucker is a beauty. Love that. Almost as good as this guy. All right, so let me put this down. So I happened upon this card on eBay some many months ago. And I was pretty blown away by the visual. I had never seen this card before. And I bid on it and I lost the bid. And then I just kept looking it up and thinking about it. And as I was kind of losing my velocity, as I as they put it, in the hobby, which by the way, I think was just temporary. I feel like I've been much more engaged recently. I was afraid that it would just be really hard to find a card like this for anything close to what the right price might be, for me, and for maybe what the true value of the card is, true market value. So, and also it's being that I'm on a much lower budget right now, and this is all because, I mean, just to be plain, my daughter's going to college, and I can't allocate much budget. So I wanted to make sure that this card was in my collection, because as I was sort of pulling away a little bit from the hobby, I noticed that one thing that I didn't necessarily mind, that I didn't have all the big cards, but I felt like the maybe less expensive, like beautiful cards, I might feel like I may even miss more. So I sort of got a sense of what it would be like to have this, almost to have to say goodbye to the hobby in my mind. And that made me double down on wanting this card. I think that I've kind of turned a corner on that, and I don't feel like I'm saying goodbye to the hobby. I feel like I'm re-engaged, actually. But probably just won't be picking up much. But I think this is, we've seen Drew do this. We've seen a lot of people do this. I think it's a good time to, be very strategic about picking up lower cost cards here and there, and finding ways to appreciate what I have. I mean, I already do feel very lucky and fortunate, and I don't have one of the better collections in the hobby, but I feel really lucky for what I have. So anyway, I think this card is beautiful, and it is so cool that this was part of John's experience at the National, and that one of my really good friends in the hobby and otherwise picked this up for me. And that it was part of it. I know that John had such an amazing time at the National, with all the camaraderie, and that I could sort of like be a part of his experience, without actually being there, in some sense, I think is very cool, and adds even more to the value of this card. So, has a little glare. So, it's a red background card. So this will be one of my beautiful red background cards. All right. Well, I think that's it for me right now. Thank you all for watching, and hope to see you soon.